I said this, Slick, and I put this out there. Whichever offense can score the fastest and whichever defense can be the most physical and aggressive is going to win this game in a nutshell. Whichever team can score the fastest. Why do I say that? If I am the Eagles, you got to do everything in your fucking power to get a 14-zip lead in the first quarter because you want to have Mahomes trail and you want to make him pick up his pace. They are a wear down team. If anything, the Chiefs' philosophy almost is the same thing for the Commanders. Remember, that's how they beat the Bucs. They didn't always have to score, but they killed us with time. That's how if I'm the Eagles, Saquon Barkley, you said it before, we're moving him around. Also, Devontae Smith, you're going in crossing routes. A.J. Brown, you're doing go routes, and then you're going to do some back in and outs, some curls. Oh, man, we're scoring. I'm throwing all the offensive plays to the box, and like I said, Slick, and I say this to anybody else. Spagnoli, I'm talking to you. You play me with cover zero, I will put Madden numbers on your ass. I said what I said, and what came into fruition. The outcome is what me and Coach Slick predicted. That's what we said. We explained if this happens for the Eagles, this is what the outcome will be. The Eagles drum roll the damn Chiefs. Now, we said because we were worried about the officiating, because I don't want people go back and review that video. We did say that the Chiefs would win, but we didn't. I said 30-27 because I was thinking the officiating was going to hold the game. Damn it, I am so happy that I was wrong because the officiating let the men play, and we saw what happens when you allow the men to play and the better team whooped up on a team that really had no business being there. So I am shout out to the Eagles for putting belt to ass to the Chiefs and dismissing the GOAT conversation. At this point, for the next 5 years, honestly, forever, to be honest, the GOAT conversation is over. I don't ever want to hear Mahomes and Brady in the same breath. And I damn sure don't want to hear Kelsey in the same breath as Gronk or Shannon Sharp. So with all that being said, thank you guys for checking out Bucs Report, the aftermath on 102.9 The Game, Broad Street South Radio. One of your hosts, AJ, turn up in the house right now. Slick, a.k.a. the British guy who's always fly, he is on standby. He will be joining us momentarily. And then we have a special guest we're going to be bringing up very soon. But again, I'm here to talk my shit. The reason why I'm talking my shit is because when I said these things about the Chiefs, people laughed at me. When I said, wait, even if he wins a three-peat, we're going to put this man, Patrick Mahomes, above Joe Montana, because I already knew the simple fact that Brady beat him twice, there's no reason to even discuss Mahomes and Brady. But we're going to dismiss Joe Montana like that? The same Joe Montana that is the inspiration to the great Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Are we serious right now, ladies and gentlemen? Because now, Christopher Cole, hey, peeps, what's going on with you? I said all that, right, fellas? I said that, Buck fans. When I put that out there, that he's not even better than Joe Montana, people laughed at me. People mocked me. You don't know what you're talking about. He's already over there. Really? Not realizing the resume that Joe has. 4-0 in the Super Bowl. That's Jordan level shit. No interceptions ever. 3-time MVP. Oh, yeah. And he also took the Kansas City Chiefs to the AFC title. Do you think Mahomes could have did that with that squad? A lot of people don't even know the damn receivers on that team. I'm going to tell you what. The only other star player that Joe Montana had on that Chiefs roster was Marcus Allen. That's it. And he was at the end of his career as well. So as of right now, Mahomes is in the top 10, but not top 5. Eagles fans, congratulations. Shout out to you, but don't get ahead of yourself. And we're going to break that down in a little bit. We got Coach Slick in the house. Yo, there he is. You missed it, Slick.
Well, what's up?
Look, man, my guest is going to see this in a moment, but I have to play this again because at this point, the way shit is going, they're going to have to start calling us the prophet coaches. Peep this. I said this, Slick, and I put this out there. Whichever offense can score the fastest and whichever defense can be the most physical and aggressive is going to win this game in a nutshell. Whichever team can score the fastest. Why do I say that? If I am the Eagles, you got to do everything in your fucking power to get a 14-zip lead in the first quarter because you want to have Mahomes trail and you want to make him pick up his pace. They are a wear down team. If anything, the Chiefs' philosophy almost is the same thing for the Commanders. Remember, that's how they beat the Bucs. They didn't always have to score, but they killed us with time. That's how if I'm the Eagles, Saquon Barkley, you said it before, we're moving him around. Also, Devontae Smith, you're going in crossing routes. AJ Brown, you're doing go routes, and then you're going to do some back in and outs, some curls. Oh, man, we're scoring. I'm throwing all the offensive plays to the box, and like I said, Slick, and I say this to anybody else. Spagnoli, I'm talking to you. You play me with cover 0, I will put Madden numbers on your ass. Boom. Isn't that what we, Slick? Didn't we talk about this shit? Didn't we break that game down? We said if the Eagles got up early, it could be a long day for Mahomes. The pace was too fast for him. The pace.
If you look at the way this team was playing, we alluded to this in the broadcast as well. This is a team that if you don't kill them off early, they hang around and then they tend to do something in the fourth quarter that gets them back on top, right? Whether it's referee calls or whatever you want to call it, they get themselves into scoring position to win games. I think if you knock them out early and they're chasing the game, that's how you want it. And then you can control the clock because then you're going to dictate how much time Mahomes has to do his magic. And if he's not going to do it, I said this battle was going to be won in the trenches, and I said the team with the best offensive line was with the best line was going to win, and that was clearly by a long shot Philadelphia.
Take a bow, Coach Slick. Take a bow right now. Take that bow. This is to you. Again, people don't realize, again, if you go check out my YouTube channel, it's called Give Coach Slick an Opportunity, because we still want Coach Slick to get his ass over here to Tampa and help out this defense. Lord knows they need it. So, again, we are fans of the game of football. We know our shit, and that's all we were trying to say. Because people laughed at me, Slick, when I said that Mahomes shouldn't be on Montana's level. But what happened a few days later, Slick? Here comes Stephen A. Smith. Well, he can't even beat Montana, and put all these stats up. Now, when I said that shit, Slick, because I guess I don't have a blue check mark by my name, it don't matter. But I said the same shit. But before I even go any further, we got a special guest, guys, that we're going to bring up here, and he is going to spit knowledge and facts too, and he's not scared to say what's on his mind too. We got Arif Hassan coming up here right now. So Buck fans out there, show some love and respect, and let's fire the cannons for Arif in the house. Let's go. What's going on, Arif?
Hey, what's going on?
That's my long-lost cousin, y'all.
I love to see it, man. Love to see it.
Love to see it. How you doing, man? First of all, welcome to Bucs Report, the Aftermath. Always a pleasure. Thank you for taking your time out. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us right now. Thank you.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, my man. So give us your analysis of this Super Bowl. What is your thoughts?
I mean, there's not much to add, right? I think it was mostly about trench play. I think that, the fact that the Eagles didn't just have like a lot more talent on the defensive line, but they were deep, right? They were like deep along the defensive line. When we saw Josh Sweat and Milton Williams doing all the stuff that, I mean, Milton Williams has been good all year. But a lot of people were talking about like Jalen Carter, right? We saw Nolan Smith step up. We saw Brandon Graham play like 16 snaps, right? Like it's when you have that many players at that caliber, it's really difficult not to like really step up. And a lot of these players kind of entered the prime of their capability this year. Like it all came to a head. All of these players were on different timelines. Josh Sweat has been good for a while, but this is a great time for him to peak. Milton Williams' first 2 years were kind of rough, but now we're here. He's about to make his money in free agency. Having all of these guys kind of come together at this moment and peak, at the same time that they've got this wonderful rookie class with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean doing what they're doing, signing somebody like Zach Bond, like having all of that come together was great, and I think a lot of that was enabled right by that defensive line. You take a look at the history of Vic Fangio defenses. I'm a little bit. I think Zach Bond is a baller. I think he's fantastic. I'm a little bit worried that he might get overpaid in free agency because you do have kind of like that history of Fangio style linebackers, especially ones that are protected by the defensive line. I'm thinking about those early Rams linebackers. Having those kind of guys, going out in free agency, we saw like TJ Edwards didn't do a ton. Having those guys kind of go out in free agency, they might get overpaid, but for right now, they assembled, the outstanding talent to kind of get the things done that they needed to get done. It started up front. I thought the Chiefs' defensive line wasn't bad, but when you take a look at the offensive lines for both teams, it's not close, right? When you've got, this outstanding Philadelphia defensive line against an offensive line that, was injured, but just, yeah, I don't know. Have you seen Juwan Taylor's cap hit for next year? It's crazy. Like they made a lot of great decisions after losing to the Bucs in 2020, right? In terms of like, going out and signing guys, trading for guys, drafting guys. They really improved that offensive line. But the second kind of attempt there, like getting Juwan Taylor or holding on to Orlando Brown for a little bit, that didn't quite work out. So you have to move Joe Tooney out to left tackle. That doesn't quite work because you've got a problem at left guard now. And so you have this kind of offensive line where it's not working at right tackle, it's not working at left guard. And you've got a really outstanding guard playing tackle, and that's just it's not going to work when you've got this outstanding defensive line. And so, matching up those offensive lines against those defensive lines, I thought Karlaftis played well enough given who he's up against. I thought Chris Jones played really well, even though he clearly had like a neck problem. But man, it was rough.
Good. We like rough. I love rough. I enjoyed that shit. It's good when I can enjoy and drink and watch the Chiefs in despair, because when they allowed these men to be men and play football, Reef, they got their asses kicked. Now, I assure you, this is Mahomes right now. When that shit was happening, he probably walked to the line and said, "Holy fuck, is this the Bucs? All I'm seeing is red jerseys. Damn it. Goddamn. What's going on? Is that JPP? Is that Sue? Holy fuck, coach. What are we going to do? I don't have Terry Gill. What the fuck? Oh, 180. 180. Oh, fuck." I'm just saying. And you know who is really sitting back flexing? Coach Bowles. Yeah, I taught them that shit. Yeah. That's right. He's probably sitting back like, yeah, AJ's punk ass can't say anything now. They took the blueprint, because I'm very hard on Bowles. So he's probably got somebody watching.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Talk your shit.
I will say this though. I will say this. Yeah, there was a ton of pressure, right? I think it was like a 50% pressure rate. The Eagles didn't blitz once, which is outstanding. I think the fact that you can just do that with 4. Yeah, there was a ton of pressure. But Mahomes was sacked on like 36% of his pressured snaps. Like Mahomes was, even if you account for all of the pressure, even if you account for like all of these receiver issues, even if you account for the fact Kelsey dropped the ball a couple of times, especially in the first half, even if you account for like DeAndre Hopkins' crazy drop, even if you account for all of that, Mahomes played poorly, right? Like you can say, hey, when we only look at the games, we only look at the snaps where we've got receivers open, where we've got clean pockets, he played poorly. This is one of the worst games I've ever seen from him, certainly as a professional. And I remember, like, just statistically, I think this is the worst first half he's ever had. Obviously, full credit to the Eagles for creating a situation where he would crater. But also, I mean, he just didn't. This is the first time I've ever felt like he didn't live up to the moment. Like, he personally didn't play well, right? And I think that that's like just part of the conversation too. Like, I don't want to take anything away from that Eagles defense. I don't want to take anything away from how well Vic Fangio kind of coordinated and game planned and kind of understood that all of the little things that Andy Reid does that make offenses just a little bit right and defense is just a little bit wrong. He took care of that. That's all true, right? But Mahomes just played badly. It was really kind of, I mean, like I personally, like, I know that you and I are not here to the same page when it comes to Mahomes. I like him a lot, but man, that was rough for me to see. I didn't love seeing, like, it would have been like, obviously statistically, but the second half he scored some 20. No one cares about that, right? He looked bad. and there was I think there was a play earlier where he like had an open, I think it was Xavier Worley. He had an open deep shot and he declined it for like an 8-yard pass to Juju Smith-Schuster. And like, once I saw that, I was like, and I didn't know for sure that deep shot was open, but I knew that in the past he would take that chance, and he didn't do that here. Once I saw that, I was like, I don't see this game. I don't see this game going the Chiefs' way, because they have to be within, a score or score and a half, right, in the fourth quarter for that to happen, and it's just bad.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful bad, because I'm a Mahomes fan, but what I am not is a fan of overinflated conversations. It's too much times in this era where one thing is extreme, and then one thing, sometimes you just have to call it as it is of the moment. Coach Slick will tell you that. I'm going to let Slick talk about the great, like, our expectations of greatness, because I do it no justice. Slick, what is the standards of what it means to be the elite and to be the best of the best? So Slick will take it from here. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I'll tell you, Mahomes is a bit of an oddball, because he does kind of tick almost every box that you kind of want him to, except for now he has 2 Super Bowl blowout losses on his resume, right? But if you take those apart, he's been big on stats. He's always been kind of a clean player in the sense of he doesn't give away the ball too much. He scores a lot of touchdowns. So from a stats point of view, he's there. You've got his greatness from a guy who's literally lived in the AFC Championship game most of his career. So he's never really been. That's what makes him like the oddball, which is why everyone's so eager to crown him the GOAT already. But it takes years. It takes years before you can really do that. And this was the Super Bowl that, in theory, you could argue that he was better than Montana. Because of the Super Bowl win. And then a 3-peat kind of puts him in the GOAT conversation. It only puts him, in my opinion, put him in the conversation. Because that guy's got so much career left. Why do we need to christen him the GOAT now? Why not just wait to the end wait to the twilight of his career when he's winding down those last 5 years and go, where is he now? And they'd be like, yeah, he's the GOAT, or he's not the GOAT. He never made it. Why are people have been trying to have this argument since year 3 of him being in the league. And that's the problem. People are so eager to christen the next guy. It's a little bit boring, to be honest. And it's a bit like the Super Bowl, because if you didn't like line play, that Super Bowl was not a flashy one to watch. Especially, nobody wants to see a team be. I mean, when I watched the Buccaneers play them, of course I did. I loved seeing a blowout, because it was my team doing the work, right? But I actually got quite bored of watching that Super Bowl by about the fourth quarter. I kind of stuck it on my tablet and played a video game, so I kept an eye on it, because I knew it was done. It was over. It was finished. They may have got 22 points, but they got garbage 22 points.
Yeah, the greatness conversation, I think a lot of it is just a product of people kind of, first of all, being impatient, like you kind of referenced, but also just kind of like flattening a lot of things, right? Like, I think, for example, we can say that Mahomes has put together some of the greatest quarterback play we've ever seen, right? That's true in an individual circumstance, right? I mean, that 2018 season, outstanding. We can say the same thing about 1984 Dan Marino, right? We can say the same thing about 2004 Peyton Manning, 2011 Aaron Rodgers. Some of the greatest quarterback play we've ever seen. But that's not the same thing as the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, because that requires a resume. I think for most people, I think it really depends, because we don't define greatest of all time. And that's like part of the problem too, is that we kind of let multiple definitions compete with each other, but we don't really negotiate what we mean when we say it. We just say it and then argue past each other. And I think that, for a lot of us, we think the greatest quarterback of all time has to be the most accomplished, right? Because I think that Peyton Manning, throw for throw, probably better than Brady, but that doesn't mean I can think that Brady is, a less accomplished quarterback, right? Like we can have these conversations about, great quarterbacks like Dan Marino, but we can't put them there. So, for example, were I to put together an all-time team, and I did this maybe like 10 years ago, right? I think a lot of things have changed. But if I put together like an all-time team, I probably would pick, like, just for one game, I'd probably pick Steve Young over Joe Montana. But that doesn't mean I think Steve Young had a better career than Joe Montana, right? It's like one of those things, like Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, right? Like I think, yeah,
Personal preference.
yeah. And I think that when we talk about this, we talk about kind of all of this completeness, and we're going to be unfair to quarterbacks. We have to be. That's just the way that these conversations happen. We know that some quarterbacks were blessed with better surrounding environments. That 49ers team that Joe Montana was with, yeah, of course, they had Jerry Rice. They had a really good offensive line. They also had outstanding defenses for most of his runs to the Super Bowl. I think that that's fair to acknowledge and talk about, but also the only way we can have these conversations is to kind of wash some of that away and just talk about what these quarterbacks have been able to accomplish as quarterbacks, right? And I think that that's kind of why it's so difficult to have these conversations about greatness, because not only are we caught up in the moment, but we flatten a lot of these distinctions, and we can say, hey, Mahomes took, you know, a pretty poor, relatively speaking, Chiefs team all the way to the Super Bowl. That means a lot, and I agree that it means a lot, but that doesn't mean that, you know, he's at that same spot, right? Like, and if we're going to start having this conversation about supporting cast, right? If we're going to have conversations about, you know, Brady's been blessed a lot of times with a lot of very good defenses on his way to a lot of these rings, right? Joe Montana had a lot of great defenses on the way to a lot of these rings. We should probably also acknowledge that for probably 2 out of the 3 wins that Mahomes has had in the Super Bowl, he had some really outstanding defenses, truly spectacular defenses working with him, right? And that's, you know, we should put that as part of the texture of the conversation if we're going to be doing that kind of thing. I personally think Mahomes is on a trajectory, right? And he has to stay healthy, right? And he has to play at a high level, and he has to play better than he did, I think, this season, much less this game. I think he's on a trajectory to be the greatest of all time. That doesn't mean he is, right? And I think a lot of people will confuse trajectory and path with that accomplishment, because I think Rodgers was on a trajectory for a little bit, and then so like, you know,
he needs to win Super Bowls. That's all he needs. He had stats. He's got, you know, he ticked every box, more MVPs than anyone's probably ever had at the quarterback position. Right. And now, like, we're looking at him as this dusty old man that can barely get it done on a Jets team. It's insane.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that we need to kind of have a better understanding of what we mean when we talk about great quarterbacks, and kind of how we place them, and when we compare them to each other, what we mean. I like Mahomes' career so far, I would argue, is slightly better than Brady's career at the same point in their career. But one of the things that makes Brady great is how he just kept fucking doing it forever, right? And that's like, you know, we had, like, when Peyton Manning retired, there was a small debate about Manning versus Brady. Now, obviously, Brady had the rings, but Manning had some better individual accomplishments, had more MVPs, was saddled with much worse defenses, had a much more difficult playoff path than Brady. And so you could start having these. But by the time Brady retired, it was not a close conversation remotely at all, because accomplishment is a resume, and you build that resume over time.
100%, Arif. You make perfect sense. There's a difference. Greatness is, in my opinion, is doing something at the best moment, bringing the best out of your fellow teammates, and knowing when to strike. Mechanically speaking, Tom Brady was not the greatest. I can give you 5 quarterbacks that had better mechanics than Brady: Joe Montana, Peyton Manning. This is a hot one right here, but if people don't know, they don't know. Kurt Warner.
Oh, yeah.
John Elway.
Smooth. Yeah.
John Elway. Oh, and here's another one who's
natural throws of the ball, right?
And there's another guy who's naturally more mechanical. He doesn't get the respect he deserved, and it's ironic because he won in the great DC Redskins. Doug Williams. There are a lot, just
Dougie.
because mechanics, and Slick can say, and Slick can we've seen players that are mechanically better than other people, but it's when you can make the right decisions at the right moment.
I think that's what makes
you were talking about Jerry Rice, right, Arif? There are so many other receivers that are physically far more gifted than Jerry Rice ever was. What made Jerry great was the fundamentals and his clutchness. Like T.O. and Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson athletically are far superior than Jerry ever has been. but it's about when it's the right moment. When can you make something happen? So, Arif, you are
Situational
right.
awareness as well. I think that's one of the things that
Yep.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has on a lot of people is his awareness of situations, unless it's counting fifth down.
Right. Look, put it this way.
That was one where his bell was rung possibly too many times, or maybe he thought he could just charm the referees into giving him a
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they've been helping me a little bit so far. Let's see if I can get a little bit more out of it. I
Right.
will say though,
Yeah.
I think Mahomes has that situational awareness. Obviously, the
I
Super
think it's
Bowl,
got
whatever.
better. You alluded to some earlier that I really liked when you said that he has taken good, bad teams. His offense has got progressively worse over time. His
Mhm.
defense has stayed here and there. It's been hit and miss. Defensive line's been pretty decent. Backers, they've never had great backers. Corners, it's been up and down with those. But his supporting cast of wide receivers, other than Travis Kelce and bringing the odd guy in here and there, they've never really had a super stud since Hill left.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm starting to. I was when I saw the last Super Bowl he played, not the one that we just watched him lose, but the one before that. I thought he played very Brady-esque. Like he picked his moments. He wasn't particularly very good in that Super Bowl either, if you come to think of it. But he was able to navigate the situation, and he's been the Chiefs have been very good at that this year. If you let them hang around, it's almost like a gear switches. It's like that Tom Brady gear. Don't let Tom Brady hang around because Tom Brady will get you as well. This used to be his kind of thing.
I remember 2013, 2014, sorry to cut you off, but it's just like this has been in my mind the whole 2013, 2014, 2015. Tom Brady was statistically not doing so hot. He was doing actually probably the worst of his career relative to the rest of the league. And he won. I think in 2013, he led the league in fourth quarter comebacks, right? They won games because of that situational awareness and understanding of when to pick your moments and understanding of like, hey, I'm not going to get this play now, but this sets up a play in the fourth quarter that if I need to take advantage of it, I will. And also, like, I know I can manage the clock better than any of these other quarterbacks. I know that I can manage these third downs because I know where the sticks are and I know how they measure the sticks, right? I know all of these things that are going to help me in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of why, like, a good friend of mine, Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. I know most people hate Pro Football Focus, and that's fair. But I remember him writing that piece over at ESPN back in 2013 that Brady was washed. He was done. And a lot of it had to do with how poorly his statistical output, was producing, right? That, he was kind of like a mid quarterback by a passer rating adjusted net yards per attempt, PFF grade, of course. And it just wasn't working, and that these wins weren't going to be sustainable. And obviously, they didn't like win the Super Bowl that year or anything like that. But, come to, 2019, when he's got that wonderful defense, he has to stick them, he has to pull them out of a couple of games, right? Come to 2017, when, you're up against this Jaguars defense that's just outstanding, he pulls them through, right? And so, like, I think that situational awareness is something that I'm a huge stats guy. I'm a big egghead. I love stats, but like sometimes we do have to understand that like the situational awareness and the way that quarterbacks conduct themselves in these big moments are a really big part of how they help teams win.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, like we talk about stats just briefly. Me and AJ have always said it's not about having the rusher with the most amount of yards. I want the rusher that's going to set up a good first down and cleans up my third downs. I don't give a fuck how many yards he gets. I just want him to start good and finish off the third down. So he can get if he's got 3rd and 1 and he gets it every single time, I'm fine. If his average is 3.9 carry, I can live with that.
Exactly. Arif, we like people who win, not electrify all the time. If you can do both, that's fucking great. That's the bonus, that's the icing on the cake. But give me a man that could score. You know who I'm bringing this up, and Slick is about to laugh. Arif, you know who's a prime example of a man who scores, but he doesn't always have to electrify you, is Mike Evans. Mike Evans gets in the end zone. He's a touchdown man. He's going 60 yards down the field. We don't need that shit. Give me a guy that can get points in the end zone. You know, Arif, how many times we've seen wide receivers that get 1,700 yards, but then you look at their touchdowns, that shit is like 9. You're like, that's it.
It's not even that. Sometimes you go and look at Julio Jones.
Yeah, I was going to ask what your Julio Jones take was after that, because that's like the opposite, right? Is that Julio Jones never scored?
Julio Jones.
And that's why I put Evans far above him. I get it. Athletically, he's a freak of nature, but you can't. I don't want to hear that he didn't have a quarterback because he had Matt Ryan, who was always the above average quarterback through most
Matt
of
Ryan will go to the Hall of Fame, and we all know it. He
right.
will. He'll get in there. He won't be a first ballot. He'll get in there.
And
I
look,
don't know about that.
But look who you want to know who threw the ball to Mike Evans the first time in a professional career? Mike Glennon. Do you know who that is, Arif?
Giraffe. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
NC State. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is what we're saying, and this is why I always say, sometimes people who don't know the game of football, they're fixated on who emotionally electrify them instead of guys like us. For the most part, we're looking at who stimulated our brains football efficiency wise, because we know that. Another example, Marshawn Lynch and AP. AP will get you 200 yards, but he also will give you 2 fumbles at critical moments. Meanwhile, Marshawn Lynch will give you 102 yards, but he gets you those 2 touchdowns that wins the game. And also, he sets the tone of the offense to where, shit, we have to worry about beast mode, and that opens things up. You knew if you stopped AP, the game was over. You couldn't stop Marshawn. You see what I'm saying?
You're talking to the wrong guy about this particular comparison. Is all I'm saying.
I love AP, but I'm a Marshawn Lynch guy. Marshawn Lynch was my guy.
Yeah, I
love Marshawn. I love Marshawn.
But to double back on the whole Mike Evans thing, and I've said this, you've heard me say this 100 times. The problem with Mike Evans, from the average viewer or anyone else who supports other teams, he's not the most polished route runner. He doesn't run the full route tree. He's never going to electrify you in that sense. His yards per carry, post catch are pretty weak at best. If anyone touches him, he tends to go on the floor. But I will say this: Mike Evans is the greatest in the league at what he does, which is red zone efficiency and snagging jump balls. There's no one in the league that does it as good as him at the moment.
Yeah, I want to add this too about Mike Evans. His career kind of reminds me a little bit of Jim Marshall's, and I think one difference is that Mike Evans is definitely going to get into the Hall of Fame, and Marshall I don't think is ever going to be able to. But one of the things is, Mike Evans has almost never finished a season in the top 3 in receiving yardage, right? Which is one reason he has such a limited postseason accolade resume, right? Which is, again, the same thing with Jim Marshall. He had like 10 sacks every year for like 20 years. And it's like, oh, okay, Jesus Christ. Right. But like he never ends up in a bunch of these, postseason conversations for like Pro Bowls and All Pros and all that. Right. And the thing is, if you ask the same Pro Bowl voters or All Pro voters or whoever is selecting, right, you ask the same people to do it over a 3-year span, right, over the last 3 years, who would make it. Mike Evans would probably have, a number of accolades, because a lot of these receivers, can have like one good or great season, or they might have one season that like sticks out. Somebody like a Josh Gordon maybe is an extreme example, but that's an example of kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah, Cooper Kupp, exactly, which I think a lot of people don't realize. He only has like one season above 1,200, and it's the 1,800 yard season.
2 seasons with 1K.
Yeah, it's like an 1,100 season and an 1,800 yard season, and everyone's like, "Oh man, what happened to him?" And it's like, I don't know if anything happened to him. but like it's exactly that, right? Where like you have like these receivers that build up this giant season, they get that accolade, and maybe they have 2-3 seasons like that, so they have 3 Pro Bowls, and then you've got somebody who's get like 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 yards, every year for like 12, 14 years, right? By the end of their career, you're like, oh my God, they're like 5th all time in receiving yards. When did that fucking happen? And like, if you had like a recognition for like a 3-year span or a 5-year span, people like Mike Evans and people like Jim Marshall would get a lot more in terms of that recognition. But that's just not how the NFL environment works in the way that we talk about these players. And so I think that really hurts somebody like, Mike Evans, just in terms of the way that people will kind of judge them by the end of their career, the way that people judge them in the moment is like, well, I mean, he only has 1,000 yards this year. It's like, yeah, he's had it every year. Who can you say that about? Right? Like,
I think when you do, like, it's the streak that kind of makes it bigger, I guess. And I think the loveliest thing for us as Buccaneer fans is the fact that when Tom Brady came to town, it kind of put a bit of spotlight on Mike Evans, and he now is seen as like this media thing. Like when he got his 11th 1,000-yard season, NFL media blew up about it. Everyone was talking about it because, and I would like to think like only like 7 years before that, he had 7 of them in a row, which was already, he was already knocking on the door and already starting to surpass people. But it didn't seem like a big interest thing. And then as soon as Tom Brady came in, now everyone wants to talk about it. But I will say this: you touched on something that reminded me of my friend. My friend said to me that Mike Evans mid. And I was like, okay, and it was for it was for the receiving numbers. And he said, here's a list of where Mike Evans ranked with his receiving numbers. Would you go? I dare you to go do that with touchdowns. And he said, I haven't done it with touchdowns, but I have. In his career, he has been top 5 6 times in touchdowns.
I think 2023 is number 1, right? You know, like 13 touchdowns.
Shared number one. Shared number one.
It was tied up with Tyreek Hill, but this is what we're saying. Or if people don't realize in football, coaches care more about the scores, the touchdowns, than the yards. Yards don't mean a damn thing if you couldn't put.
I think it's just a quarter full. Every coach is different. We all actually just had a discussion about this, and I said I want touchdowns because if I could give you a game, right? 2 elite wide receivers going toe to toe. On the one side, this guy has no touchdowns for the game. He loses the game, but he's got 212 yards. On the other side, I got a guy with 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. They won the game 14-9.
I will say this. I want to push back a little bit on the Julio thing. Obviously, red zone weakness. Obviously,
I love Julio too, but I get where he's come from.
Yeah. I think the ability to get you into the red zone is an important skill, right? I don't want to say underrated. A lot of people, we just talked about how people, prioritize a lot of these yards, but the ability to get, first downs on third down, stuff like that. And Julio was very good at generating first downs, just not touchdowns, right? And moving you into that spot is very valuable. If I was going to compare Julio to, I mean, he sucks as a person, but Antonio Brown, right? But yeah, Antonio Brown scored more than Julio, which I think a lot of people don't really understand, because he's like small. Why would he score? He scores, right? People find it like, I remember you can find a bunch of different ways to score. Stephon Diggs, great red zone receiver, not a big guy, right? It's just, you find ways to win, right? But the reason I do, and there's no way Julio's ever going to be in a conversation for one of the greats. You have to do it all, right? And he did most of it, not all of it. But I personally would probably take Julio above Mike. I just gave Mike a bunch of his flowers, so you'll have to forgive me. Just because getting you to the red zone is going to be important. Obviously, the difference, of course, is that you're going to need someone else to help you kind of get there, get along there. And obviously, for a lot of his tenure with the Falcons, they didn't really have a tight end that could do it, so they had to deal with like a Devonta Freeman or something like that, which is okay, right? But the thing with Mike Evans is someone's going to have to take you there for him to get that. Sometimes it's him, but it's not always him. Whereas with Julio, he's always taking you there. So I think that's kind of the difference. And I think that this is something that would allow me to split the difference between a Julio and a bunch of other guys that are kind of considered in the same area, because 60 odd touchdowns for a career as large as his, for as many yards as he had, for as many targets as he had, is disappointing. There's no way around it. But that's a lot of fucking yards. It helps you a little bit, right? Sure. Yeah, so that's going to be my one pushback. Obviously, scoring is important, and the ability to consistently score is important. Sometimes it's a difficult conversation to have because red zone production, I think you can't really evaluate it in a single season. There's just so few red zone opportunities that sometimes people will spike in red zone production. So I think until you get 3-4 years of consistent red zone production, you can't really judge a guy as like a good red zone guy. And so that analysis can kind of fall by the wayside. Obviously, with somebody like a Mike Evans, or like I mentioned, Stephon Diggs, or go for favorite Eric Decker, at that point, you can say, okay, that guy's just good in the red zone. This isn't a fluke. This isn't luck. That guy's just good at this shit. But I think that we gotta give at least a little bit of credit to somebody who can get.
I'll give Julio Jones. He's one of the great wide receivers of all time. He's just in that conversation with one of the great guys. Yeah. It depends on what you want out from your guy. Of course, we're Tampa fans, so we're always gonna be a little bit skewed. Yeah. I think the thing that makes Mike Evans kind of shine in my a bit more is that he's in year 11 and hasn't really fizzled out yet. Whereas by year 9, Julio was done.
That's it. Sure. High volume doesn't always make you the best. I think a lot of people don't realize that. It's like the NBA. Ari, if someone takes 100 shots and they hit 12, you're gonna look at that guy and go, "What the fuck?" Meanwhile, the other guy who only takes 20 but he hits 13 of them. This is why I tell people being high volume doesn't mean you're the best. It just means that
you get popped a lot as well, I imagine.
You get popped a lot. And the reason why Evans wasn't always going up the field, that wasn't his fault. That was coaching. Do you know when he got targeted the most to go up the field? It was during Jameis Winston era, because Jameis Winston was a gunslinger. Everybody else, but this is why, and Dirk Cutter force-fed Evans, and so did Cutter. But do you know how many 21 to 50-yard touchdowns Evans have in his career? If you had to estimate, how many do you think he would have in his entire career? Do you think he had
20 to 50-yard touchdowns, right? Okay, so he's like 105 touchdowns so far in his
20 to 50.
I would say probably 18. I don't know.
23. That's
why. Pretty close. I'll take it.
I get it. But a lot of people, when they say that he's not like someone that can beat you deep, that he can do that. You just got to put him in the right positions. I can tell you this: before Brady came,
deceptively fast. He looked like a giraffe running down the fucking field.
Yeah.
Anyone could cover him, but for some reason,
yep. I think a lot of people, if they go back and watch Evans more, the things that they think that didn't electrify them, Evans has caught more one-handed catches than Odell. And mind you, Evans caught a one-hand catch and got hit in the fucking face by Keanu Neal, and he got up. Meanwhile, you got a guy in Odell who cries and jumps out of the jacuzzi with dudes. That's his thing. No disrespect to him, but that's all I'm saying. And I go and I want to take this back to Mahomes. This is why, because I like that we were talking about this, because in a way I pissed off a lot of people, Reef. I said when I showed
I couldn't tell.
When I showed the stats, people were like, well, AJ, he doesn't have anyone. Like this is bullshit. But then I go, well, wait a minute. Are you saying that Mahomes are you saying that he needs great players to make himself great? Because last time I checked, Brady won with Deion Branch and Amendola as his number one guys. Look at the stats for our boy. Nope, wrong person. Wrong person. Now, I'm sorry, but the past 3 years, it looks like it's getting worse and worse for Mahomes. What's going on? Because let's be real, he didn't have an elite season. If it wasn't for his previous Super Bowls, these are mid-ass stats. 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and they're getting worse and worse. So it looks like eventually Tyreek Hill's absence is coming back to bite them in the ass. And this makes me happy. It shows that Kelsey ain't as good as he thought, as the media.
You had that take at the beginning, and it doesn't strike me as that spicy of a take. I was surprised that there were people that thought Kelsey was going to be in that conversation. He never entered that conversation for me. Like, obviously, I don't want to take anything away. He's a really good, really, really good tight end. But I'm not. What?
Slot receiver.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's a nasty slot.
He gets covered by linebackers and safeties. That's the best way to put it. But
I'm not taking away. He is still elite at what he does.
He's very good. Yeah, he's very good at what he does, and I really enjoy the fact that he could develop the kind of improvisational chemistry with Mahomes that is probably really difficult and a fairly rare talent. But that doesn't mean that Antonio Gates wasn't better than him. Obviously, he was, right? And you mentioned Gronk, and I feel my worry is that maybe it's because he has a media career, maybe this won't happen. My worry is that 15 years down the line, people are going to look up Gronk on Pro Football Reference and see, that his yardage total isn't up there with all of these other guys. And I can't, dude. That guy rules. He is the greatest tight end I have ever seen. He's not particularly close. I thought for a minute that George Kittle might be able to kind of push it there a little bit, but I'm not going to say Kittle's fallen off because they're asking him to do a lot less, and the quarterback situation is always weird in San Francisco and whatever, right? But he just hasn't achieved what Gronk can do. And I think
time on the side though. Still got time on Tommy Time's still on his side, so he's got a chance to kind of get those things right. But I agree.
Yeah, and I think that when you see Gronk, God, the meanest thing they've ever done with him is have him do like split flow zone blocking. Like just these poor guys getting absolutely lit up by this train coming across the formation. Just outstanding stuff. And you see Kelsey do the same thing, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And like you never have that question with Gronk, right? It's always gonna work. He's always gonna ruin some like 280-pound defensive end's life, which is nuts. Like that you can just be confident that that's gonna happen.
To do that, right? He's
Yeah.
not supposed to do that.
And I'm glad you're bringing that up, Arif, because if Hernandez had his shit together, put it this way, the Patriots would have never lost a Super Bowl probably until like maybe 2 years ago.
It's like having two extra. It's like having two swing tackles at all times.
Added an extra 5 years to Gronk. Aaron Hernandez. Hell, we might have been arguing if Aaron was going to be the better tight end. Because Aaron was faster than Gronk.
Yeah, he was such a unique athlete because they would have him like run the ball, right? They would have him like, streak down the field. They would have him just block people. Like you said, he was like an extra lineman. But like the really awesome thing is, and for like, this is around like 2011 or something like that. I remember like when this like happened, that people like two tight end is the new like formation for the NFL. And in 2024, two tight end is a big deal, but it's not the same thing because what they would do is they go out in two tight end and see what the base personnel package was or what the personnel package was for the defense. Mm-hmm. And if it was base, they'd split out and they'd throw the ball. And if it was nickel, if they were like, hey, we got to get some speed on Aaron Hernandez, they'd just be like, well, we'll just block him. I don't care. We're going to run the ball. And they just went in and out of whatever play they wanted to do based off of the opponent personnel. It was unstoppable because both tight ends could do whatever they wanted, which is so unusual, right? And and a bunch of teams saw that and they're like, well, we got to grab a tight end, to go with our starting tight end. We'll go in the second, third round. And some of these tight ends, I mean, especially in college, we're just like not built for that. And like you're asking guys to be as good as Gronk or as good as Aaron Hernandez. And that's not going to – Hernandez was so unique. Like in terms of versatility on offense, like maybe Kyle Juszczyk, but like it's and I don't know that Juszczyk is there anymore, but like it's easy what they asked him to do. They asked him to do basically everything. They lined him out wide. They lined him in the slot. They lined him in line. They lined him as an H-back. They lined him as a fullback. They put him on the nub. They have him run the ball. What the hell is going on? And then you've got the greatest tight end of all time on the other side. What in the world? So yeah, if that had been handled, that would have been an insane element to that dynasty, of course, right? And then obviously, Aaron Hernandez did his thing, and then, Gronk got hurt. One of the things that I think people don't realize about Gronk is how, obviously he runs like a lumbering moose, right? Like you can't, avoid that. But when he was demanded to do something that required some agility or flexibility, he did it, right? I think a lot of people, a lot of people talk about, my favorite example of this is like the concept of catch radius, right? A lot of people think about how long your arms are and how much you can leap and how high you can grab the ball. And obviously that's part of the catch radius, right? Like that matters. But in terms of like grabbing a pass at your knees, right? So many tight ends can't dig deep and catch low. So many tight ends can't, catch from behind while they're running. Gronk truly had a catch radius in a way that like Jimmy Graham didn't, in a way that, Mahomes is asking Travis Kelce to do in this game that he didn't, in a way that, George Kittle kind of doesn't, right? The ability to catch at your ankles and run in stride while you're doing it, insane stuff. So it's going to be really tough for me to see a tight end and for someone to say he's the greatest of all time. And I'm just going to remember all the healthy seasons for Gronkowski when it's like, hey, it's the fourth quarter, it's third down. Gronk is going to be open no matter what anybody tries to do. And you can throw it basically anywhere that his arms can reach and he's going to catch it. And he was the best blocking tight end in the league at the same time. What the world?
Arif, that's bars. Anybody who says different, they just don't know football. And we'll just laugh and go, you just weren't there. There's just some greatness that you just had to be there. Like the Montanas, you had to be there. I caught Montana when he was with the Chiefs, and I was like, this dude is bad. But my uncles was like, boy, you don't know what bad is. When you were little, that's when Montana was that dude. But I know you got to wrap it up, but I want to thank you for coming on here and taking your time, man. Great football talk. Please tell everybody where they can find you and if you got anything coming up.
Hell yeah. So you can find me over at wideleft.football. That's where I've written, that's where I write everything. So my most recent article is a little bit about the culture of football. So I talked about, how we can learn a lot about what companies are doing well based off of who's advertising in the Super Bowl. Because I don't want to talk about the actual game itself that much. But, I do a lot of breakdown of the Vikings. We do statistical analysis. We do film review. We do cultural and political analysis over at wideleft.football. My next pieces are probably going to be about, doing the consensus big board. A lot of people really love that. I gather opinions from over 100 draft analysts, condense them into kind of one ranking and talk about what we learn from that process, not just to rank players, but what we learn about the way people rank players and have that discussion. So that's going to be over at wideleft.football. You can find me over at Twitter at @ArifHassan and on Blue Sky at arif.bsky.social. Check it out.
My man,
appreciate
always a pleasure. Hope to have you back on here now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this was a ton of fun, man.
We're gonna debate some more Julio and Mike Evans because we're gonna convert you over to where that conversation gonna be. It's Evans 100%. That's right, damn it. We're going there. We're gonna convert you. Look, he's top 10 already. If he continues this trajectory for 3 more years, top 5. But that's another conversation for another day.
All right. We'll see you then, man.
Man, take care of yourself.
All right, peace out, man.
Peace. I think the dude is about to make his presence known because you already know what segment.
I saw a taste of it.
We gotta talk some shit. And there it is.
Here we go.
All right, that's enough of that shit. What's going on, boys?
Nothing much. Just in here talking shit. We out here
football.
Clowning Mahomes. The Eagles they about to be next too, but we had the shit on the Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs because they just had to. How does it feel to get this? Look, they got early 2000 porn star DVD smacked. They got Pinky smacked. Cherokee that ass smacked. They got Naughty America clapped up. If you don't know what Naughty America is, you just had to be there.
They got smallpox and blanket fucked.
Right. Had the thumb all up in there. And look, no spit, no nothing. And that's how we like it. Well, that's how
quick shout out. Sorry, Slick. Quick shout out to Arif Hassan, wideleft.football. You can find him on Substack. Just put wideleft.football in your browser. It'll bring you right to him. Smart guy, fair guy. Dare I say fair and balanced, but I'm not trying to associate him with that 3-letter network. So shout out to Arif Hassan for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you back. Again, anybody watching this show, wait, let me do this. 1, 2, 3. All 4 of you fucks watching the show, go follow him on Twitter and Blue Sky at Arif Hassan. It's real easy. You'll see the guy, his profile picture. He's got them 1984 Bon Jovi sunglasses, ski glasses on. If you need help, hit me up on social media here at Bucs Report, and we'll point you in the right direction. That said, hey, how's it going over there in the UK, Mr. Slick?
Well, we still call it the Gulf of Mexico, so there's that.
I've renamed it on my Google Maps. It's called the Gulf of Trump is a pedophile, but we're not going to go into all that stuff. How's everything going over there sports wise? I know you got the rebrand coming up with Sandwell, and I know you guys are gearing up. You probably got your nose in film.
The stuff rebrand, so it probably won't really happen until next year. But we just changed colors, so we've instead of being black and gold, we're now black, white, and red.
So Buccaneers colors, that works with all the gear you already have, bro.
It does kind of. It does kind of. It's not
like
too bad.
Does that mean we get to burn the black and gold shit you got on air?
Oh man, it's annoying because it's like I've got so much shit. I've got so much stashed fucking coaching gloves. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? The worst part is I had some more stuff made up for me, and it's all black and gold. So I can go in the fucking bin. I'll probably wear it to practice, but yeah, I gotta wait for my new stuff to come through. So
well,
it's the same stuff.
Yeah, you know how some coaches wear completely opposite colors on the sideline so the players can find them easier. Maybe go that
I fucking asked this because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get stash packs. Everyone's to go with the new rebrand. Everyone's gonna have like new kit." And I was like, "Great, is ours gonna be different?" And well, why does it need to be different? I went, "Well, if we're all stood there and they're wearing fucking black and red, why isn't ours red or white?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, then we'll stand out because the coaches need to wear a different color." Got a point there, Slick. And I'm like.
I'm thinking
I don't mind white, but the problem with white is like it just stains easy. That's the only thing that I fucking hate the color white.
Look, the problem with white is we promised we weren't going to talk politics, but that's the problem with white. That said, hey everybody, Philadelphia Eagles. Hold on. Sorry, I threw up in my mouth. The Philadelphia Eagles are your world champions. Much respect. It took you a significantly longer time to reach 2 Super Bowl rings to come even with us. Yep. So congratulations. Welcome to the club. You are now off of that second to the bottom tier of Super Bowl winners. You went from 1 to 2. Good job. You doubled your success. Jalen Hurts is not a top 10 quarterback. Saquon Barkley should have been the MVP. I'll die on that hill. But the other side of that is I'm not going to argue it because arguing nowadays is like fucking sticking your dick in a light socket. Nothing good's going to come of it, bro. But I do want to shout out to AJ holding it down for the Bucs Nation out there, keeping it real with the Chiefs fans. And by the way, Chiefs fans, I know we'll get to the baby back bitches of the week. And trust me, you're on there. But Chiefs fans, y'all, here's what happened to you. And I think Arif and you guys broke this down pretty good earlier. Y'all are dying to affiliate yourself with greatness. Not just Chiefs fans, sports fans in general. Mm-hmm. All right. I just saw a list by somebody. It wasn't the 33rd team because I got mad love for those guys, but it was some smaller outlet. And they listed GOATs of sports of all time, just all sports. Mm-hmm. And I understand putting Wayne Gretzky on top, especially if it's a Canadian-based media outlet. I get that. But you don't got Michael Jordan in your top 10? I'm sorry, no, in your top 8? You don't got Tiger Woods in your top 8? I saw Michael Phelps up there, and don't get me wrong, what he did in the Olympics is amazing, right? But let's be honest. It's the Olympics, bro. You compete once every 4 years, and then during the championships, the 2 years in between.
Muhammad Ali?
I didn't see Ali on there.
How do you not have Ali on there, or at least like Tyson or someone?
Ali is number 1. Ali should be number 1, but
I agree. All I'm saying is, if he's not there, what the fuck are we doing here? The tennis player.
The thing is, and I realize that I don't think they had either of the Williams sisters on there. I'll be honest.
They're not the best tennis player. I mean, I love me some Serena Williams. That's a schoolboy crush. All over, I'm all over that shit. That is a woman. That is a fucking woman. But the best is I'm trying to remember the Serbian guy.
Nadal?
No, he's Spanish. You mean Federer? He's Swiss. Novak Djokovic.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you say that.
Right.
Novak Djokovic.
Because what I heard was yo back bag of chips.
All that and a bag of chips. But there are better, like there are a lot of fucking good athletes, and I think sometimes and I don't mean this to be mean because obviously I'm talking to Americans right now, kind of forget there are other sports out there.
Yes.
Soccer players are pretty darn athletic. Last I checked.
Yes.
Rugby players are pretty athletic. Last I checked.
I realize these lists are a generational thing too. There's a generational divide.
I saw Babe Ruth on a fucking list. I'm like, I could outrun Babe Ruth. I reckon I could. Yes. I'd give it a good go. I reckon I could have out athlete. I mean, he'll have a ball better than me, but I reckon I could run faster than him. I put my money on the line. I could run faster than Babe Ruth. You should be nowhere near no athletic list.
Well, and that's the thing. And these arguments for the greatest of all time, especially when you take it across all different sports. There has to be a generational segmentation here.
Yes.
Because leagues and sports are always evolving one way or the other. And I'll just put it this way. The Joe Montana 49ers teams would have beat the Eagles. Why? Because the West Coast offense is designed to beat exactly what the fuck the Eagles did. Okay? But Joe Montana only has 4 rings and Brady has 7. Do I think Joe Montana is a better quarterback overall? I don't know that answer. I think that's a good debate. Do I, myself, sitting here 55 years old, who do I think the greatest quarterback of all time to play the game is? I'm going to go with Montana purely on the basis of him. Montana in the playoffs was ridiculous. And that was a whole movement. That was a whole shift in the dynamic and all those big fucking science words, the paradigm and all that shit of football, where it went from we're going to run the ball 60, 70% of the time to we're throwing and we're throwing and we're throwing. We're going to turn short passes into the run game and we're going to move forward and evolve and develop a whole new system that became the West Coast. And the West Coast was so dominant that motherfuckers like Chuck Noll and Tony Dungy had to develop the Tampa 2 with Monty Kippen in order to stop it. So with all that said, I got mad respect for Patrick Mahomes if you're looking at a sheet of paper and the stats and the accomplishments in his resume. Cool, you've done really good. Yep. But I don't watch football on paper. I watch football on a fucking little square box in my fucking house, okay? And what I see is a dude constantly bitching, constantly moping, constantly acting like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not doing better than I am or my team's not winning. What I see is a guy who skirts up and down the sideline and uses his protection as a positional player of quarterback as a way to subvert the rules of the slide and the running in and out of bounds. How many times have we seen Patrick Mahomes look like he's running out of bounds, so the defense is required to let up, and then he puts his foot in the dirt and cuts back upfield and gets more yards? That, my friend, should be a penalty, just like that motherfucker Lubo jumping over the line 4 fucking times in a row. You're taking and you're fucking perverting the rules for your own benefit. So, Patrick, I don't remember Joe Montana having a whole rule change because of his bullshit actions. I do remember it happening for Brady in the tuck rule. I do remember it happening for Mahomes. It's going to happen with him in this sideline shit. So that said, Mahomes, you're a great quarterback. But you guys are dying to put your name and your team's logo next to something that says greatest of all time. And Patrick, like Slick said, we shouldn't even be talking about this shit until you're on your fucking anniversary lap around the fucking league. But the problem is these motherfuckers out here in the media, they've got to do content 24/7. They can't just put out one piece of content and let it live there and breathe. And let's talk about it, because they're being pressured for clicks and clicks and clicks and clicks. So we got to have a pre-show meeting to come up with the most absurd fucking thing we can say. And then we're going to Google that fucking fact as we see it until we get enough fucking bullshit next-gen stats. Do you realize they invented next-gen stats so they could make their bullshit fucking arguments against what we actually see with our fucking eyes? That's what the fuck is going on here, guys. With that said,
that fucking win probability, a win probability of 2%.
Win probability.
Fuck off.
Here's the thing, man. You ain't gonna piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, bro. I see Patrick Mahomes. If I'm going into battle, like our guest said earlier, one game, and I need a quarterback, it's either Montana or Brady. It just is. It's not Patrick Mahomes, because I don't need that one game. I don't need fucking side-eye passing. I don't need fucking dancing around and all the bullshit that comes with that. That said, I'm in a really good fucking mood. And by the way, Travis Kelce, dude, you have considerably fallen off day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year since you started porking the Swift. Okay? And that said, that's okay. I understand, bro. You get that high level ASS, and it's going to take away some of your attention. I'm cool with that. But Chiefs fans, NFL media, you can't say he's the greatest tight end of all time when that motherfucker couldn't block me. Okay? Now, wide receivers, They're not required to block, but the tight end position is required to be part of the blocking scheme in several, if not the majority of situations. Even if it's a tap and release.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just a hit the guy and go out for your screen pass, which is what the Chiefs love to do. You still have to make the content. You still have to make the chip.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, you ain't making those plays. I saw you in the Super Bowl. I saw when Patrick Mahomes was scrambling, you were standing there with your hands above your head going, hey, I'm right here. Why aren't you throwing it to me? And then he fumbled. And because you weren't hustling to the ball, you piece of shit, you guys fucking either almost or did lose the ball. So Travis, congratulations for making the NFL millions on the end of your fucking dick with Taylor Swift. That's amazing. Great job. You're the greatest at that. But to say you're the greatest tight end, you're not even to Tony Gonzalez's level, let alone Gronk. Okay? Nope. Gronk's tight end game, his catch radius and his blocking skills alone are what people should be having this hyperbole over, are what people should be saying, holy fuck, do you see that? Go watch Gronk's highlights on these catches and his catch radius. Not only does he catch the ball out of his radius, he gets fucking trucked and holds on to the ball more often than not. In fact, I would say a high majority of the time.
Yeah.
Now, I like to come on and start shit, and I think that's what I did. I do have to say again that thanks to Reef, great job, dude. Great content. I feel the Julio Jones, Mike Evans thing. We might be able to turn this into something with you guys and him. That's a beautiful thing. We're in the off season, boys. Bucs Report's going to really pick up their draft content starting next week with draft profiles, mock drafts, and who the Buccaneers should take and all that shit. But we also got to focus on free agency and the Buccaneers. That whole franchise tag thing's coming on. The trade windows is approaching rapidly. Jason Light, you lost some of your boys this offseason in the front office, and that's okay. I know you paid attention. And hell, you're the one that hired most of them anyway. So, Jason, we now turn our attention from Todd and Baker and Mike Evans, and we're looking at you, Jason. You got to get the edge rushers fixed. You got to fucking do some linebackers. We need better corners, okay? Basically, all three levels of your defense need addressing. You can't do it all in the draft. There ain't but 6 picks. So you either got to start trading motherfuckers for draft capital, or you got to start signing free agents or making some trades. Either way, Jason Light, you're on the clock. This is your time. From today forward until the end of that draft, it's all on you. It's got not a damn thing to do with anybody else in that locker room or in that organization. Jason Light, you're on the clock. We got faith. Go stunt on them hoes. Now, I know you guys doing baby back bitch of the week and all that shit. And I know you guys got plenty of shit you need to get off your chest. I'm going to step out for a minute, but I'll be right back. I got to go reshare this shit with Arif. Again, thanks for everybody watching. Thanks for the Vine. Slick, that's a beauty flag back there. AJ, holding it down in our nation's capital, bro. Keep your head down, man. Stay out to pray. I'll be back in a few minutes. Appreciate the Vine. Appreciate the time.
Dude, yes, sir. Now, that flag, I ain't gonna front, Slick. The history major in me, it's bittersweet. Now, hopefully, in the next couple of years,
you have to teach me a bit more because I just wanted a decent backdrop.
Well, that X that you see, it kind of gives off a Confederate flag kind of vibe. The Confederate flag, if you go back and look at the Confederate flag, that X, the way it looks, and mind you, Florida, they were part of with the Confederacy, so whatever. But at the end of the day, the next 10 years, change that shit and make it more ethnic and make it more diverse. But right now, I still rock with the shit. It is what it is. However, let's get to this because I got to get this off my chest, Slick, because I'm up here in the DMV area. So we got a lot of Eagles fans. Again, congratulations. That's all you're going to get. But now, shut the fuck up about, we are going to win it back to back. Get the entire fuck out of here. You got a good squad, but Slick, they not the 2021 Bucs. Your defense is good, but you ain't all of that. Jalen Hurts is not a top 5 quarterback.
Are we ready to see this team have a target on its back because that's what happens, right?
100%.
And
100%.
then all those guys that are like the Josh Sweats of the world, I think he's up for a contract. There's guys up for a contract on that. They can all make good fucking money going to other teams. And
That's
this
it
team
right
ain't
there.
got that much money because they spend it. They already
Right.
spent it.
Exactly. But Slick, when I tell people that football 101, what's the first thing we like to talk about? Economics comes into place because these guys are going to want to get paid. And here's another thing. What if they can go somewhere else, Slick, and not only get some paper, but also win another Super Bowl? Tampa's around the corner. Hey, look, we can get you a little more than what Philly can offer, and you're going to be on a good team. You got up and coming. You got Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin more than likely is going to come back. You have Cade Otton. You have Jalen McMillan. You got a fucking stud in Bucky Irvin. You have Rashad White back there, Sean Tucker. The offense, as you say, Slick, we both said it, offense is set. You could be a part of the piece of the defense that helps get this shit back in order. Boom. And you're going to get paid. And here's the thing. Florida has no state tax. So whatever you were going to get in Philly, Philly is a commonwealth. So they're going to take a chunk of your shit. You come to Tampa, that $25 million in Tampa will go a long way than that $32 million in Philly. So again, but another thing against Slick, I say it again. They're not even the 2021 Bucs. Let's give people a memory lane, Slick. Mike Evans, prime Mike Evans, prime Chris Godwin, Gronkowski, Antonio fucking Brown. Oh yeah, the line was still set. Ali Marpet, Tristan Wirfs. You had Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones. Oh, let's go to that defense. Ndamukong Suh, JPP, Shaq Barrett, Levante David, Devin White, Antoine Winfield, Jordan Whitehead, Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean when he had some common sense. I'm sorry, Slick. The Eagles team is stacked as it is. They don't have the 2021 Bucs. That was the only time where we both said the media was like, oh, the Bucs got this. The Bucs are going to be Super Bowl winners. That was the only time Bucs ever got that kind of hype. Because we were like, man, damn, we have more of a say than the Eagles. Look, the people forget the Bucs spanked that ass against the Eagles. And AJ Brown and Devontae was out. Your defense wasn't. Well, it's different. What do you mean? You had your starters. We just clapped them cheeks. And we whooped that ass. And we did that without a running game, Slick. Imagine what we would have done if Godwin and Evans were in there and we have the run game. Put it this way. You guys are lucky Godwin went out and that Bowles was being some shit. Because, Slick, I'm saying it. I stamped this motherfucker. Eagles wouldn't want to play Bucs in the playoffs. They wouldn't have wanted to play us. They would have been shook like, damn it, here these motherfuckers come again. So I'm going to let you go with that. But hold on. Let's go to the stats, Slick. We got to do this. I'm sorry. Do you see top 5 fucking QB stats right there?
No.
Give me your analysis.
If you took away the dates, I would have said that were these like pre-2015.
As a coach,
you mean to tell me that his highest he's ever achieved is 23 touchdowns in a season?
23 touchdowns, and mind you,
14 INTs though. That's real bad.
Right, and mind you, he has AJ Brown, he has Devontae Smith, he had an offensive line.
Yeah.
But wait, but again, Slick, we're the bad guys when I bring this shit up. But he can win this year. He can do it.
I'm not going to take anything away from this. His story itself, like how he got benched in the national playoff of Alabama. He then goes to Oklahoma and has does a thing there. I think he's 3rd round, maybe 4th. I'm not entirely sure. Selected in the draft. And he's a decent quarterback. Yes, and they put the pieces around him, and he looks better. He looked better, especially in the playoffs. He looked better in the moments.
Right.
And I'm super pleased for him that he's got these things, because he seems like he doesn't seem like a hype dude, like that drinks his own Kool-Aid and is full of his own ass. So I'm really pleased about that from that perspective from him. He seems kind of a humble dude. But when you chuck up stats like that, you can't have that conversation. But people want to have that conversation because who he defeated, not about, do you know what I mean? But then the defense has a say in that. The defense has a huge say in how much Patrick Mahomes gets to do. I always say this: when two quarterbacks duel, and I'm going to do this duel, they ain't playing each other. They playing each other's defense.
Right.
So you could have Josh Freeman on the Molly. Was it the Molly?
No, that's Doug Martin.
Okay.
Josh Freeman, he had that nose powder.
Okay, he was on Charlie.
Yeah, he had that white girl.
Okay, he was on the powder.
Yeah,
you got him coming a day out of the powder. He coming out of Nebraska with powder up his nose. Come in and a Buccaneer Super Bowl defense bails his ass out, and he goes for 3 picks, 2 touchdowns, and the running backs gets 2, and they win the game. Are we having this conversation that he's
hell no? Thank you, Slick.
Because he beat Peyton Manning. You can find any quarterback, any quarterback in the history of football that is lost to a rookie or a guy that never panned out and did fuck all. Does that mean he outdueled Mahomes? Does that mean he outdueled Peyton Manning? Insert quarterback's name here. No, it means his defense did enough and he had a good day.
Amen, brother. Amen. But again, it's also of who he played. And Philadelphia is a high marketable team because they're talking about as if, this was the worst beatdown for Mahomes. I beg to fuck differ. Mahomes didn't score on the Bucs defense.
So I remember in our chat, somebody tricked in there going, it pisses me off that they're doing better than we did. And I went, but I said, you got to wait till this game gets into conclusion because we didn't give no garbage touchdowns. There were no garbage touchdowns. We didn't give up one single touchdown. They kicked 3 field goals. That's it.
And mind you, that year, Slick, they were the number 1 offense. Tyreek Hill was there. If anything, Eagle fans,
offensively, they were a juggernaut.
Yeah, Eagle fans, I'm so sorry to burst your bubble, but you played an inferior Chiefs team than what the Bucs did. I challenge Eagles fans. Do you think that the game would have been as easy as it was if you were playing the 2020 fucking Chiefs? I don't think so. This is prime Kelsey. When Kelsey was actually relevant. This was Tyreek Hill, who was a fucking nightmare. They had that other receiver that had that speed. They had speed all over the place. And again, their run game, they still had something. Oh, yeah, defense. Honey Badger. He gets on my fucking nerves, but he was still relevant and solid back then. Chris Jones back then. Their corners were good. So, Eagle fans, we're happy that you stopped them, but don't get beside your fucking self. I got to put the stats back up again. What the fuck is this? And mind you, I stand on business, Slick. I'm so sorry, but this guy right here is better than Hurts. This guy right here is better. Hold on, let me find the right one. Woo! Look at them stats. And mind you, different coordinators, and he's got better and better. Better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I love me some Baker Mayfield. He's that guy, man. Like, I don't care. Like, people are saying, "Oh, Baker lost us this, Baker's lost us that." Like, yeah, but we won games because of Baker too. And we won. I'd say we won a heck of a lot more than we lost. Hey, quarterbacks have bad days. Peyton Manning's lost games too.
Exactly.
Peyton Manning got ridiculed in a Super Bowl at one point.
Right. And mind you, put Baker Mayfield. You could put 5 quarterbacks on that Eagles team, and they're winning the Super Bowl. So if you put Jalen Hurts on the Bucs, he's not winning. I'm sorry to say that. He's not. He wouldn't win a Super Bowl on this current roster. He wouldn't have won. Because now put Baker Mayfield on the Eagles. Shit, if you put Baker on this Eagles team in the Super Bowl, they might have scored 60. Because he would have actually been able to throw the ball a lot more open. Because I watched the game, Slick. There were a lot of deep throws that Jalen Hurts threw, and I was like, bruh, if you literally just stay in the pocket and throw the fucking ball, AJ Brown would have had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was literally mouse in the house. This is the only time, Slick, that I was like, damn, man is not working for the Chiefs. They were getting cooked in man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's why you do need to vary up your coverages to at least keep the wide receivers guessing, right? We're just talking, me and you, when we talk about coverage, we just don't want to see that fucking off man, off zone, yeah, cushion coverage.
Where's he at? You're not far enough. Get the fuck back further. Coach, he's about to catch the ball.
It's true though, like we understand it has a place, and I would see like, yeah, 4th in a fucking bus ride or 3rd in a bus ride. I can see there's a logic for it, but I would expect to see it maybe 5 times a game, maybe even 10. But you think of how many plays are called in a game, right? When you look at it like that, then fine. But it's a staple. When it becomes a staple, it tells me 2 things. It either tells me that you're scared of the offense that you're up against, and it could be both. You don't have faith in the coverage abilities of the guys that you have on the field, and if that's the case, you need to reevaluate if they should be on the team.
That's it right there. If you and here's the thing. Yep. If this is just your philosophy, you might have to question yourself and go, yeah, that kind of football doesn't exist. Now, if you get Myles Garrett, and let's say the fucking Bucs got Myles Garrett and Khalil Mack, and you put them on there, that might work in your favor because you have the pass rush to get there like you did with JPP and Shaq. But
but I don't remember us ever calling that much of that. I mean, I'd have to go and watch the tapes. I'd have to go and watch the tape on it, but I don't recall it so often. I believe we saw a little bit of it during his first year, and then it's just got more and more and more.
100%.
The second year got worse. The second year got worse. The third year, it's like that's all we ever saw.
100%, and you're right, because again, the confidence kept continuing to go down. But again, we never saw it succeed. We never saw it. The thing that irritates me the most about it is we never saw it succeed. We saw when he switched away from it that they had success. It was like they go up against a rookie quarterback and they do this fucking coverage, and you see someone like Spencer Rattler go bang, 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 and then all of a sudden you went, oh, halftime, this shit ain't working, guys. Man these motherfuckers up. You couldn't get shit done. And then we destroyed them. So yes, Bowles at this point, and then Bowles on the offensive side, you got to let your coordinators say, we got this shit. Again, Slick, what chaps my ass and what still kills me to this day is that we were the only team in the playoffs that didn't go for 4th downs. Everybody else went for it. I kid you not. I always say this. You know me, Slick. If we would have went for 1 4th down, we beat the hell out of the Commanders, because then Jaden can't stay on the field long enough to get rhythm. We can get after him. But because you keep your team off, guys, Coach Slick says it best. He's a defensive-minded coach. He knows. Let me tell you guys this. Offenses are not like defenses. It takes time to catch rhythm. If you're cold all the time, no matter what other people go, well, AJ, the Bucs got the number there, top offense, they're supposed to get it together. It doesn't fucking work like that, numbnuts. You got to establish rhythm. You can't just tell everybody, yeah, offense, let's just get out there and make it happen. That's not how football works. The great Tom Brady knew that. The great Joe Montana's. You have to establish a rhythm. So with that being said, Slick, that's why we tell people it's important to know when to be aggressive. So at this offseason, I told you, I want Bowles to write the word aggression and the definition 5,000 times.
Like Mark Simpson on that chalkboard, right?
Aggression on both sides. So overall, that's what we're saying. But again, Eagles fans, I just wanted to elaborate. We're happy, shout out to you, but don't get carried away. And besides, Slick, if you get a chance to, my man, I need you to get back over here to the States for one of the games. I know that's a big thing, but if you can next season, try to bring your ass over here, please. And if you need a place to stay, you can roll with me. All you got to pay for is the flight, because the game I really would love for you to come through is the Eagles when they set that date because they play back in Tampa. And mind you, if we get, we'll talk about this, guys, later on down the line when it comes to free agency and draft picks. But at this point, if we got to get two, we got to hit the home run in the free agency twice. We got to get either a Crosby or a Garrett or a Khalil Mack or somebody. We got to get two. Don't wait for the draft because, Slick, you said it best. Buck fans ain't shit at 19 for edge rush.
Buck fans, if you want us to go and get an edge rush at 19, he ain't gonna pan out.
He ain't gonna pan out.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible that he won't, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely. Look at all the pass rushers, the elite pass rushers that are drafted in the top 10. You do get some in the second round. They usually develop a little bit slower, and they take some time to we ain't got that time. The Super Bowl buck is ticking. You've got a guy. If I can go and get myself a guy, because look at this, Buccaneers fans. They ain't these first round picks. They ain't your daughters. All right, they're not your fucking daughters. Stop holding on to them with dear fucking life. Because if you expect this football team to be good, and I mean this, if you go and trade for Myles Garrett, 2 first-round picks and a 3rd round next year or a 4th round or whatever, I can picture you this. You won't need to pick somebody in the 1st round next year. Because guess why? Your 1st-round pick might not be at 19. It might be closer to the 30s. So does it fucking matter? Remember when we traded for Gruden? 1st round pick of that year? Okay, it was a hit. A 1st round pick of the next year? Yeah, we picked 30 fucking second. Who gave a shit? Practically a 2nd round pick. That is the point here. If you want your team to succeed, or are you hoping that we fail and we get a good draft pick? But if you draft someone like Myles Garrett, you are solidifying your chances of probably not that happening again. So you're easily going to be picking 20, 25 or upwards.
And don't forget, Buck fans, Jason Light is a mathematician in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. He knows how to get gems. We all know if you get a pass rusher at that point, now you just need to get some linebackers in the corners. And this
get the line. Second round, linebackers and corners. 2nd and 3rd round. That's it. Go and get that. And if you can go get someone in free agency, brilliant. If not, don't worry about it. That's where I want us to do our work.
And I want to get this last thing, and we'll wrap this bad boy up. Slick said it the best. Just because you get let's say the Bucs were at like number 5 and we got one, the Rams got Verse. Verse did very well, but Verse wasn't an immediate impact player. It's going to take time. Slick is right. Most your pass rushers don't have that immediate dominance. It takes 2 to 3 years. Verse, as good as he was, didn't even scratch the surface yet. Now watch Verse will be much better next year. But again, guys, you just get the fucking sure thing. Myles Garrett is your guy. Crosby is your guy. And if we get Crosby, Myles, and we get like a Sweat or Khalil, Super Bowl. We're looking at Super Bowl because Evans is getting younger. We got one more prime year of Evans, maybe. And this is the downside prime year. But either way, you got one more year for him. And if you get Myles Garrett or Crosby, Levante will say, oh, shit, my last year, I'll knock it out. And then I can groom somebody to take over.
This is the point. This is the point because if he sees the team look exactly as it is and it doesn't change, he's there going, I'm going to go back. It's going to be exactly the fucking same. What's going to change? He's basically hoping that people like Savastia Dennis will take a step up and not get injured as well. He's hoping that the other players around him elevate a little bit. But if you bring in somebody like a Max Crosby or like a Myles Garrett, or like a Trey Hendrickson, or whoever, right? One of these bigger name pass rushers. He's there going, now we've got a horse. I can bet on that. And then he sees the draft come through because I reckon he'll be a guy that probably signs quite late. He always usually does. If we get to the point where we're doing the draft as well, he could be like, yeah, we got some pieces.
And then he's like, hey guys, I'm gonna give it one more year. Look. The Bucs are primed to win your Super Bowl next season, and we'll get into that later on. But trust me, the Eagles, that team that I saw, they're good, but everybody's going to adjust. We already know Saquon is going to be the target. You eliminate targets, you eliminate Barkley. Now we'll see what Hurts can really do. But on that note, guys, we'll let y'all go because it's getting to that time. We want Slick to get some rest. I need rest as well. But thank you for checking out the Bucs Report, the Aftermath on 102.9 The Game, Broad Street South Radio. Check me out on It's About Bucking Time. Also on Twitter, AJ Turnup, because I love pissing people off. And that's what I'm going to be continuing doing, is piss people off until they get football right. And Arif, we're going to convert him to the gospel of Mike Evans because that's what it is, the gospel of Evans. But as always, go Bucs. My man, Slick, you be easy, brother.
And you, brother. I'll see you soon.
Peace.
Okay, guys, that's the end of the show. And yeah, that's football season done. Patrick Mahomes lost. Eagles are victorious. Not what we wanted, but it was we were never going to win this one, right? We're never going to win this one because we didn't have the horse in it. This next year is the one that we got to get prepping for. A whole fucking year of off-season football. Get ready. Find out who we're going to get those guys. Hopefully we get a premier pass rusher in as well, because I really do think it's the thing that's going to really push this defense over the edge, because that's what it's missing. All I'm hearing is people saying, "Oh, we don't get sacks. We don't get as many sacks. We don't pressure as well. We're not pressuring very well." Get that pass rusher then. And I'm going to add this. You don't like our DBs, that's fine. You give them a pass rush, they'll probably look better. Because if the quarterback is in duress, he's going to throw errant balls, he's going to speed up his progressions, he's going to make mistakes. That's picks, that's incomplete passes, that's thrown when he's not ready, that's thrown when the wide receivers hasn't made his break, got into his break properly. That leads to incompletions, bat downs, interceptions, returns to the crib. A pass rush will always help out the back end. And a good back end always helps out the pass rush. It buys them time. You got guys who can cover really well. It takes time for guys to be loose and open. That gives more time for your pass rush to get there. Start with the pass rush, work your way backwards. Get that back end right too. And on that note, Bucs on me, Bucs on free. 1, 2, 3. Go Bucs!